Operating out of an old movie theater on the California coast in 1981, Ethan Reckless is essentially an unlicensed private investigator. He is convinced to take a job from a former hippie turned bank robber named Rainey Livingston. Ethan and Rainey have a shared past, so he agrees to help her recover the money from the bank robbery gone wrong that her heist partner, Wilder, claims has disappeared. What makes Wilder's story suspicious is that, not long after telling Rainey that the money was gone, he bought a bunch of land north of San Francisco. Despite warnings and violence, Ethan pursues leads, but the closer he gets to Wilder, the more it appears he has stumbled into something much larger than bank robbers double-crossing each other. Ethan Reckless is the bleak, literary descendant of Sam Spade, Philip Marlowe, and Lou Archer, and he fits right in with those stories of hard-boiled West Coast noir. In his time as an FBI agent, Ethan went undercover to spy on subversive groups in the early 1970s, but quickly became disillusioned with his work. In the time he was with Rainey, Ethan was injured in a bomb blast gone wrong, and has physical scars in addition to psychological damage that has muted many of his emotional responses. Along with Ethan's narration, the graphic novel often flashes back to his time with the FBI. The story starts en medias res, and jumps back to work its way toward that point. These techniques have an intentionally disjointed effect, meant to mirror how Ethan experiences his own memories. One of the most interesting aspects of Ethan's character is why he's doing any of this freelance detective work for Rainey, or anyone. Although he isn't wearing a sandwich board that says, "The end is nigh," Ethan openly believes the world is doomed. His time doing research and analytical work for the FBI convinces him that the world events are on a catastrophic trajectory because no one in charge wants to change. He explains that if we're all just waiting out the clock, then he wants to help people, even if it's just making someone's life easier for a little while. Ethan, however, is not just being altruistic. Because of his trauma and psychological scarring from the explosion, he often feels intense anxiety and has difficulty relaxing or sleeping. Other than sitting and staring at the ocean, the only thing that he says releases the pressure is closing cases that he works on. Then, he can actually sleep at night. There's probably a lot of psychoanalytical work that can be done here regarding PTSD, but I'm not the one to do it because it would be irresponsible. And besides, I don't have my copy of the DSM-5 handy. In the background of the whole story hangs the 1960s and the war in Vietnam, how it and all its attendant social unrest damaged everyone involved, and how those wounds followed them into the present. Similarly in the background is the story of drugs, and how they went from experimentation and consciousness raising to a multi-billion-dollar illegal industry that no one can control, but almost everyone wants a slice of that pie. One element that I really enjoy about Reckless is its unashamed pulpiness. The world of early 1980s California is ripe for the heightened but gritty adventures of a damaged protagonist operating on the fringes of its half-neon-lit seediness. In his afterword, Ed Brubaker opens up to the pulp roots of his ideas for Reckless, and even says, "It all came together like I'd been secretly thinking of it my entire life." The afterword is an interesting insight into the genesis of this graphic novel series, without being ponderous or wedded to any particular ideological lens. The art reflects this pulpy inspiration. It is deceptively low-key and understated with its presentation, line work, and coloration. It never gets quite as trippy as Criminal sometimes does, but it is spare, tense, and effective all the same. Essentially, the art looks like how a neo-noir should look. You only have to see the cover to know. What else is like Reckless? The obvious starting place is Criminal, the graphic novel series also by Brubaker and Phillips. Only those stories focus more on the people who are on the supply side of crime. The books also tend to be even darker than Reckless. For graphic novel readers, Stumptown by Greg Rucka and Matthew Southworth inhabits a similar space, albeit in Portland, Oregon. If you're looking to crank it to 11, check out Sin City by Frank Miller, but be aware it's much more stylized and over the top than Reckless. For readers looking for more traditional experiences, go with Dashiell Hammett's Maltese Falcon or Raymond Chandler's The Big Sleep. Those authors pretty much invented everything good about hard-boiled detective fiction and the Southern California setting that Reckless also inhabits. Ross MacDonald's books, like The Moving Target and The Way Some People Die, continue the tradition of hard-boiled detective fiction but with a more modern, psychological emphasis on the PI, Lou Archer, and the perpetrators and victims of the crimes he investigates. Or, it's as modern as the 1960s can be. In fact, from Hammett to Chandler to MacDonald to Brubaker, you could trace the arc of hard-boiled West Coast noir from the 1930s all the way through the 1980s. That sounds like it could be someone's American literature doctoral project, so you're welcome. If you're looking for movies and TV, there are adaptations of varying quality of most of the novels I mentioned. You can also watch the excellent Chinatown, which is considered by many to be the pinnacle of neo-noir. The first season of True Detective hits a lot of the same notes and has the pulpy stylings of Reckless, even though its setting is pretty far afield. The ahead-of-its-time show Terriers is also an excellent program that follows two unlicensed detective Californians and their darkly comedic efforts to unravel a series of crimes. Also, there is The Big Lebowski. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my peculiar notions. I'll have links to my written reviews of any of the aforementioned material in the description. If you want to support the channel, you know what to do. Until next time, please continue to live and be well.